Hey, what's up? John Sonmez here from SimpleProgrammer.com. So I got this comment on my Facebook group, which I don't talk about very much. Every once in a while I talk about it in the videos. The only way to get into the Facebook group right now is through the Patreon page, which again, I don't really promote, but I'll eventually have a way for us to have a membership community that you'll be able to subscribe to here on Simple Programmer. It's in the works. There's a lot of things in the works right now. But I often get a lot of good questions on there, a lot of good comments. I end up making a lot of videos from there. This is a good way to get in touch with me and interact with other Simple Programmer community members who help each other out. It's a really pretty cool environment. So I got this question on there about a video that I did. So this question came from Nick, and he said, just watched John Sonmez's video about the one guy who's been through a lot but taking it in stride. So I think this is the video where the guy was diagnosed with a bunch of medical conditions and whatnot, and he was really amped up about like doing the best that he could and not making excuses for himself. So anyway, so he says, first thing, I commend that person highly. It takes a lot of balls to have that attitude when life shits down your throat. Secondly, I had thoughts on this, and this is not at all meant to discourage anyone. But if we simply take things in stride all the time and not play the victim, even when we are rightfully one, hold on, whoa, I have to disagree there. When are we rightfully the victim? I would say never. So he says, again, I'll just repeat that. He says, but if we simply take things in stride all the time and not play the victim, even when we're rightfully one, doesn't that breed a sense of complacency? While there are many things, dare I say most things, that are not in our control, okay, there are several things that are and can be changed to make our lives better. If we have this mentality and sense of complacency, we just assume we can't control it, which complacency snowballs quickly. And so we eventually assume we can't control anything given enough time. So I'll break this apart. I want to address this. Okay, so what can we control? Let's talk about this, right? The Stoics have talked about this quite a bit. It's been talked about by philosophers throughout history. There's only one thing we can control. It's what's here. This is it. Everything outside of here, maybe we could say, we can't control. Not at all. It's just an illusion. We can indirectly influence everything outside. But the only thing we can control is our perception of the input that we receive. I'll repeat that. The only thing we can control in life is our perception of the input we receive. Yes, we can move our body. Yes, we can say things. Yes, we can have thoughts. But that's not control. That's just our ability to influence and affect the world. We only have a locus of control that's internal to our own thoughts and how we choose to perceive things, okay? So when something happens, how we interpret events, that's what's within our control. Our attitudes, how we choose to view the things that have transpired, that have come in from our inputs, from our eyes, from our ears, from what we've been told, right? From what we've seen, what we've heard. We have control over that, our attitudes and perceptions of that. But we have no control over anything else in life. And to think so is fallacy. When you think you have control over things that you don't have control over, you feel powerless because you are powerless, and you feel like a failure all the time, and you feel helpless, and you don't have a good grasp on reality at that point. So you need to understand that. Now again, what is this mindset, right? So can we assume that we can't control anything? Yes, of course. And this is really good Stoic philosophy here. Now, the thing about this, okay, is that if you can't control all of this stuff, all right, are you helpless? No, because you get to choose your own perception of the input that's coming into you, and then you get to respond to that, not react, respond how you want to. Okay, but the whole thing here is that you have to assume you can't control anything. You just have to assume that what you can control is internal, and that you're going to live your life. You're going to, like, your fortress of solitude is within here. Like your happiness, your fulfillment, your joy, right, has to come from what you have control over, which is very, very little. Okay, and so what that means is that you're buffered against the waves of fortune and fate. So when shit happens, when bad things happen, when things that are outside of your control do things against you, or seemingly against you, it doesn't affect you. I mean, it affects you to some degree, but you get to choose the interpretation of those things. And so if you have expectations on the world or other people or things to go the way that you, quote, want them to, and they don't, and you believe that you're in some way control of it, then you're in some way responsible, right? And you're not prepared. But if your understanding of control, of your locus of control is here, like I said, and you realize that the only thing you have control over is your own perceptions, okay? How you interpret the input that comes into you, then when shit goes wrong, when shit happens that you didn't expect or not the way that you want it, it's fine. It doesn't matter because you expect that already, because you realize that the world is chaos and all of these things. You can't control other people. You can't control events. You can't control the weather. You can't even control what your body does, honestly, right? I mean, to some degree, like you can get sick. You can't control that, okay? Unless you're Wim Hof, maybe. But you see what I'm saying? Like, then you have that expectation. And so you can live your life and you can be unbuffeted by the waves of fate and fortune, okay? You'll still maintain your mindset and be able to conquer. So, and then he says, I know the counter argument is going to be to moderate it, but how can you begin to moderate something like that? It's really getting into metacognitive space that is near impossible to classify, let alone utilize. So in short, it seems quite hypocritical in general. Taking it in stride eventually leads to shit via complacency, and trying to control and change everything leads to shit also, because that is impossible also. And lastly, a balance seems to be next to impossible due to the statements above. If I'm wrong at all, I would love to hear some counterpoints here. I'm not writing this with the intent to stir emotions, but it's thoughts like these that tend to plague me from time to time. So, okay, no problem. You know, I get the point here. I get what you're saying here. So you're saying, you know, he's saying here that essentially, like, there's the two things. Like, either you know, you're gonna have this complacency because you can't control anything, or you're gonna try and control everything, and that's gonna lead to that's gonna be impossible as well. Okay, so let's back away from that false dichotomy. Okay, here's the thing. Just because you accept reality and you accept that things are outside of your control, that the only thing is in control is here, your perceptions of reality, of the facts, of the input that comes, does not mean that you're complacent, okay? It doesn't mean that you don't strive. It doesn't mean that you don't try to affect change in the world. You just realize you can't control it. See, there's a difference between controlling something and affecting something. You can affect the world. Believe me, your thoughts alone can change the world, can change reality. In fact, reality changes. Every change in reality, everything that comes about in reality that is here has come from a thought. Think about it, right? It started as a thought in someone's mind. So your thoughts are extremely powerful. So it doesn't mean that you have to be complacent just because you accept that things are outside of your control. You can still alter and change reality. It's just that you don't have control over it. This is where I talk about, you know, I've talked about trusting the process. You can watch my Trust the Process playlist, and this is the concept behind it. It's simply disconnecting the outcome from the action, right? We have the ability to perform actions, to do things within the world, to make our thoughts reality, but we can't control the ultimate result. I can go to the gym and I can lift weights, but I can't make my body build muscle. Now, if I go to the gym and I lift weights and I eat the nutrition that I'm supposed to eat and my body's functioning the way that it's supposed to, I could have some kind of genetic disease or something that prevents me from, you know, from having the chemical reactions that are necessary to build muscle. But assuming all those things, then the result should be a gain in muscle. You see what I'm saying? If I go and I build a business and I put my effort into it and I, you know, whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm hustling every day, right? And I'm putting in my time and I'm grinding it out, I should get a good result from that. But I don't necessarily, I don't have the control over that. But trusting the process is saying that I'm letting go of the result. I'm not responsible for the result. I'm responsible for the action, right? There in the Bhagavad Gita, it says that man is essentially, most of the translations say something along the lines of that man can own his actions, his labor, but not the fruits of his labor. What does that mean? It means that you don't get to assume the result. Like, just doing something doesn't necessarily give you the result. It's an indirect influence. You have to focus in your life on doing what you can do, right? It's not complacency, and it's not trying to control everything, and it's not somewhere in the middle either. That's a false dichotomy. It's simply recognizing that you do not have control over things that are outside your perceptions of what comes in. But you do have the ability to affect the world, and you do strive to accomplish what you want in life, but you take the action, and then you trust the process, and you don't own the result. The result may come, and it may not come. It's fine. If the result doesn't come and you still want to get the result, you change the action. It's fine. But you can't ever fully own the result. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. There's a billion different variables that could happen that could make it, it's not your fault. I mean, when we say it's not your fault, what I mean is that it's not your fault that the outcome didn't come out the way it's supposed to, okay? You can't control that. So you have to realize that it is your fault if you don't take the action, if your perception is wrong, if you don't take the actions appropriate to lead to the result, right? When you have perceived things correctly, and you have chosen the correct attitude in life, and you have become a hustler, and you're willing to go through the grind, and you're willing to take the actions that you need to in life, that's where your duty ends. The results are great. I hope that you get results. I want to get results for the things that I do, but it doesn't matter. I know it's a hard pill to swallow, but when you disconnect that, right, that's when you're going to be at peace, because you're just going to say, my job is to do my fucking job. That's my job. I have to have the right mental attitude. I have to control my own mind, my internal, the thing that I can control to the best of my ability. And then I have to take action on this world to the best of my ability. And it ends there. And you know what? If the results come, that's great. If the results don't fucking come, I can rest easy knowing that I did what I could do and what I was supposed to do, and I gave it my all. And that's all that we can ever do. Everything else is an illusion. People who think that they can directly control results, they're living a lie. Now, yes, it may appear that you're controlling results. It may appear that way because you're influencing them. You're indirectly controlling results, but you're never directly. You cannot make a single hair on your head grow. Do you understand that? You can't even control your own body. You cannot will yourself to live longer. Okay? You can't change another person. You can't make a person do something. You can't control another person. You can't control how they feel. You can't control if people love you or don't love you. Those things are completely outside of your control. But you can influence them, and you've got the power of influence, and so use the power of influence in your life. But at the end of the day, the true Stoic mindset is to say, my job is but to do. That's it. The results, they come or not. Trust the process. All right, I gotta plug a Trust the Process t-shirt for those of you that got this message and want to remind yourself of it. That's why I don't have the t-shirt on right now, but go check it out in the Simple Programmer store. I've got a shirt that says Trust the Process, and that's what it means. This is what it means. It means that I control what I can control. It means that I take responsibility for my actions and for my perceptions, but I don't try to control the results. I can't. I can only make a good process, trust the process, modify the process if I need to, in order to hopefully achieve the results. But my responsibility ends at my action and my perception. I can never be responsible for the results because I can't directly control the results. And if you, like I said, if you do, you're going to put unneeded pressure on yourself. But complacency is not the answer. Just because you have this attitude does not mean you're complacent at all. In fact, if you have this attitude, it's like operating with a safety net. Because if you're responsible for things that you can't control, if you feel the responsibility for results which you can't control, you're careful. You're more cautious. But if you realize that all you got to do is just take massive action every day and just plow forward like a fucking bulldog, because the results, they either come or don't, it's kind of like a safety net. You see what I'm saying? It's actually the opposite of complacency. Complacency is the point that you get to when you feel like you have no control over things that you're supposed to have control over, when you feel like you can't affect the world, when you feel like it doesn't matter. It does matter, because it matters to you. It matters how you grow and what you become based on what you do and what you perceive. That's what matters, okay? And that's what you can control, is that your own perception. All right, I think that's about it. This is a very good question. Good discussion to have here. And I'm sure there'll be more discussions about this. If you have questions about this, if this doesn't make sense for some reason, I know some of these things are disconnected, leave me a comment below, because I want to know. I want to know if you guys got this or not, if this makes sense to you. And yeah, let me know. All right, click the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already. Click the bell to make sure you don't miss any videos. Talk to you next time. Take care.